Now welcome guys back to the channel. In today's episode of discovering random and very interesting airports, we are back in South America. Actually, last time we were in the deepest of South America, in Patagonia. That was very interesting. Today, let's actually go back to the city. Today, we are actually in Colombia, and when I say city, I mean city. Yeah, right in front of us, we have the city of Medellin. Right, this is actually a pretty large city. In fact, this is one of the biggest cities in the country. Well, we can already see something very interesting in front of us. Yes, we have another airport that is in the middle of the city, which actually seems to be a big thing in South America. You know, when looking at airports like Rio de Janeiro, aviation seems to be pretty interesting over there. Yeah, this airport is called Olaya Herrera. That is probably the wrongest pronunciation ever. But yeah, that's what the video will be about today. And we are spawned in the Cessna 172 on this 1800 meter long runway. Yeah, 1800 meters, that is really not a lot. Pretty much any international airport will have a longer runway than that. But yeah, this is actually a pretty short runway, especially considering that this airport at least used to be one of this city's primary airports. Now today, let's ask the question that I always ask with airports like this, and that is whether this airport should be closed or not. You know, there's pretty much always a lot of disadvantages when you have an airport in the middle of the city. But alright, let's just take off out of here first. Actually, these days, this airport is mostly used for national flights, you know, flights in the country of Colombia, and, you know, general aviation and stuff. The most international air traffic goes to another airport, you know, not right in the middle of the city, I guess. But there are actually airlines serving this airport. This, after all, is a commercial airport, and again, it used to be the primary airport of the city. Yeah, these days it's more of a regional airport. Now this takeoff worked out very well. I mean, this is a Cessna 172, what can you expect? This was very nice. Alright, now the biggest plane to operate at this airport, at Olaya Herrera Airport, is the ERJ-170. That's an Embraer regional airliner. It has a capacity of 76 passengers, which is the absolute maximum that is allowed to operate at the airport. Actually, the airline that operates these Embraer planes is called Satena. Very interesting name. I've actually never really heard of it. Okay, welcome aboard the ERJ-145, I guess. That plane shouldn't really have any issues operating here. I mean, it does operate here in real life, so landing should not be an issue. But yeah, this does seem pretty damn close to the city. Like, we actually got some taller buildings, especially on the other side. As a pilot, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable flying here. Also, this is quite a terraneous place. There are quite some hills here. Not very nice. But now let's land the ERJ. Pretty damn smooth landing, not gonna lie. Let's see if we can also stop, right? That's the point of landing, I guess. Oh yeah, these tall buildings right next to the runway, I don't think that's good. But there we go, we have stopped. The ERJ-145 is obviously a pretty small regional plane. Would have been quite weird if it wasn't able to fly here. And yeah, we are within the official limits of the airport. This plane is officially able and allowed to operate here. Nice landing. Now let's move on to a plane that maybe is not able to operate here, at least on paper, and that is the ERJ-195. You know, we're in South America, so we have to try out some South American planes. That is this one. Now, as I've said before, the ERJ-170 is the biggest plane to be allowed to fly here, so the E-190 is actually beyond the limits. This, after all, is not a very easy airport. The runway is not very long, and especially considering this place is quite high altitude of 4,800 feet or like 1,500 meters. That all doesn't make a very easy to fly airport. And yes, there have actually been a few accidents here before. But now, let's see if we can land safely. Shh. Wonderful landing. Let's see if we can stop as well. That might be nice. And there we go. That was a quick stop as well. I mean, this is a regional airliner still. Pretty nice, huh? My landings are pretty decent today, right? Now let's move on to a bigger plane that also should, on paper at least, not be able to operate here. How about a 737? Let's go for some kind of fancy version for the 737. I mean, yeah, we could try out the Max. Alright, welcome aboard the 737 Max. This one's actually a little small, pretty nice, huh? But let's land it now. Oof. that was not very smooth, was it? Whatever, let's just stop, I guess. The thing is, the 737 is also a little bit of a quick stopper, so this shouldn't be an issue at all. To be honest, I think even the 737 is perfectly able to operate here just fine, all nice. So no problem at all, actually. I think we'll actually start to run into some issues with some bigger airliners. How about something like, I don't know, the 777 or something? You know, with these big planes, that's when it starts to get really interesting. Alright, something is wrong with the simulator, Jesus Christ. Alright, that was some very, very weird graphics bug that we just had. But let's land the plane. The thing is, this runway is also quite narrow, I would say. So with even bigger planes, it can be pretty hard to hit the runway at all, actually. I'm pretty sure you can end up in grass here very quickly. Now, that was a landing, huh? Let's stop. Alright, that's it. Actually, you know, we used pretty much the whole runway for this landing, so I'm kind of doubting that you can safely operate something as big as the 777 here. You know, you always want to have a lot of spare runway left in case something goes wrong, but in theory, you can land a 777 here too. Actually, you know what, this was not the worst landing, right? But yeah, again, this runway is pretty damn narrow, oh my goodness. Alright, let's now try something very big, something like the 747-100. Alright. Now we're in the 747, let's see if we can depart that plane out of this airport. That's actually loading a little bit too much weight, you know, because in order to operate a plane safely somewhere, you also need to be able to take off from that place with quite a little bit of weight. But actually after that, let's talk about the main question of today's video, and that is if this airport should be closed, or more like why this airport actually should be closed. But an interesting question could also be, well, why does this airport exist in the first place? Why did they decide to build an airport in the middle of the city? And to answer that, we have to look at the history of this airport. Actually, it is pretty damn old. It was built in the 1930s. And back in the 1930s, there was actually no city here at all, actually. And over these almost 100 years, actually, the city of Medellin, which is this city, has actually grown around the airport. Yeah, actually, back in the 1930s, there was no city here. But now there is one, and that is actually causing some problems. You know, we have had that discussion a lot of times before, why it's really not good to have an airport in the middle of the city. You know, first of all, there's the noise, there's the pollution, and again, there's the noise. And also, it's not super duper safe to have 747s flying like 50 meters above some little, I mean, these are not skyscrapers, but you know what I mean. It's not a very comfortable place, also not for pilots. And these disadvantages do overweigh the advantages. There are actually some, you know, you don't have to drive to the airport for hours. You know, you can pretty much walk to your flight if you live in the middle of the city. That is a pretty big advantage. But other than that, there are only disadvantages. It might seem pretty cool at first, but I don't think it's very comfortable to have huge planes flying over your house, you know, at 2 a.m. at night. You do definitely get tired of things like that very quickly. Also, there's the economical problem. You know, you cannot expand the runway, obviously. I mean, where would you expand it? And in general, you cannot really increase the capacity of the airport. It cannot really grow. Also from the passenger side. But at the same time, this airport, it does have a purpose, you know, it's used for mostly general aviation now. And for that, it's actually pretty great. You know, general aviation planes, they are quieter and all that, and also don't need that long of a runway. They can operate here just fine. And yeah, the big jets, they go to another place. So should you close this airport? Probably not. I mean, why? It's pretty cool. Even though it obviously takes away a lot of space, you know, all that space that the runway and in general the airport needs can definitely be used for buildings. But as it seems, the city is not running out of space just yet, so that is not that much of a problem. At least for the next few years, I guess. So yes, the final answer is no. This airport should not be closed. It's pretty cool. It's not as bad as other city airports that we have seen, right? And yeah, so yeah guys, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow. As always, good night.